Prepare for a disturbing journey into the depths of an enigma that echoes to this day. The story of Nadia Cachés, a young woman of just 20 years old, was a vibrant mosaic of passions. The precise stroke of drawing, the freedom of written words, the controlled strength of martial arts, and the contagious vitality of sports. Her hands, skillful and creative, mastered the art of screen printing, while her mind, thirsty for knowledge, explored the paths of philosophy. A bright future awaited her in the capital, Montevideo, a horizon of studies and new achievements that never materialized. What happened on that fateful night? What shadows lurk behind her disappearance? This episode is an emotional and somber dive into the search for answers that stubbornly remain hidden. A true story that confronts us with the fragility of life and the painful persistence of mystery. Can you feel the weight of uncertainty? Watch until the end and leave your opinion in the comments. Your perspective could be crucial to understanding this story. Hello everyone, welcome to the True Crime Files Investigations channel. If you are a lover of real criminal stories, get ready for an exciting marathon. Every week, we will explore shocking and remarkable cases, the most complex and intriguing ones, with an in-depth analysis of the details and motivations behind each event, which leads us to question human nature. Subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos, and ensure you're always up to date with our exclusive content. Leave your like to strengthen our community and motivate me to bring more and more impactful and unprecedented stories. Get ready to discover the backstage of the crime world, learn about the failures of the judicial system and the stories of victims fighting for justice. Welcome to an investigative and emotional journey. I count on you on this journey. The truth is about to be revealed. So, fasten your seatbelts, because the investigation begins now. The young Nadia Cachés, barely 20 years old, lived a vibrant and multifaceted life. Her days were filled with a passion for drawing and writing, the discipline of martial arts, and the energy of sports. Demonstrating great manual skill, she had learned screen printing and, during her last years of high school, worked in various shops in the city of Canelones. With a mind eager for knowledge, Nadia dedicated herself to philosophy studies at the Artigas Teachers Institute and already harbored a concrete dream: to move to the capital Montevideo to reach higher levels in her academic journey. However, the date of December 13, 2010, marked an abrupt break in her plans. That day, Nadia left by bicycle towards Santa Lucia, a neighboring town about 17 kilometers away, with the aim of visiting a friend. She stayed there until 6 p.m. After saying goodbye, she got back on her bicycle and began the journey back home, but she never arrived at her destination. Nadia Cachés disappeared on that fateful December 13th, and to this day, the mystery surrounding her whereabouts remains painfully unsolved. The next day, the absence of news from Nadia plunged her father, Roberto, into a state of growing anguish. He called a friend of the young woman in search of information. Sharing the same apprehension, the friend began to contact other acquaintances, but none of them knew Nadia's whereabouts. That night, Roberto formalized the disappearance report, which triggered a police patrol operation throughout the city. Simultaneously, Nadia's friends tirelessly searched the streets, in the vain hope of finding her. The initial investigation of the case was in charge of the first police station of Canelones. However, the lack of significant progress in the first few hours led to the referral of the case to the homicide department of the police, recognizing the seriousness and complexity of the situation. Just 2 days later, on December 16th, a disturbing discovery brought a faint clue. Nadia's bicycle was found near the Marga stream. Intriguingly, there were no signs of impact or any indication that explained how the vehicle had gotten there. The next day, the police and the National Directorate of Firefighters carried out a thorough search in the same area. It was then that Nadia's backpack was found. 2 days later, search efforts intensified considerably. Divers from the National Navy searched the waters of the stream, while aerial explorations covered the region. Despite the scale of the operation, Nadia remained inexplicably missing. The father's account, Roberto, conveys the growing apprehension and disbelief at his daughter's disappearance. Over the months that followed the disappearance, the community of Canelones demonstrated remarkable solidarity. Neighbors, friends, and countless people touched by the news joined the search in various ways. The local media kept the case in the spotlight, covering it intensely, while a dedicated group formed to coordinate efforts and actively collaborate with the authorities. An important milestone in this mobilization was the creation, a few days after the discovery of the backpack, of the Facebook page titled Buscando a Nadia, Searching for Nadia. The group grew rapidly, bringing together close friends, neighbors, high school teachers, and even people who had never met Nadia personally. They organized meetings to plan searches, made posters, obtained the support of parents and local businesses, and launched a publicity campaign that became fundamental in keeping the case in the public eye. In January 2011, popular commotion manifested in the first march under the strong slogan, Te vamos a encontrar, we are going to find you. A month later, they organized a gathering in the Plaza 18 de Julio in Canelones, where they delivered 1,639 signatures to representatives of the Servicio de Paz y Justicia, Service of Peace and Justice organization, seeking their support and collaboration in the relentless search for Nadia. The feeling of Nadia's friends was one of deep despair. As often happens in high-profile cases, the disappearance of Nadia Cachés gained national notoriety, with television programs dedicating entire segments to the subject. This increase in visibility brought with it an almost inevitable side effect: the proliferation of unfounded hypotheses. Media outlets and commentators began to discuss possible causes for the disappearance, mixing speculation with information about Nadia's personal life. This speculative logic, far from bringing clarity, generated even more confusion. The starting point for many of these theories was a bloodstain found on a sheet inside a wicker basket in Nadia's room. From this isolated piece of evidence, the possibility of suicide or even natural death was raised, diverting focus from the concrete efforts to find answers. Instead of concentrating on the proven facts, the public narrative filled with rumors that often made the situation even more complex and painful for family and friends. Nadia's father, Roberto, maintained a cautious stance, without ruling out any hypothesis about his daughter's fate. However, he expressed his conviction that suicide was unlikely and considered the possibility of a kidnapping. In October 2011, the Buscando a Nadia, Searching for Nadia, group launched the We Need Witnesses campaign, with the aim of emphasizing the crucial importance of reconstructing the facts and obtaining relevant information about what really happened to the young woman. Time relentlessly marched on, and regrettably, there was no shortage of those who tried to take advantage of the painful situation. On one occasion, a teenager tried to extort the family, demanding 100,000 pesos in exchange for false information about a supposed kidnapping. In addition, several psychics came forward, claiming to know Nadia's whereabouts. In a particularly cruel episode, the father received an anonymous note, the lead from which, to his frustration, led nowhere. The news portal reported that Roberto handed the note over to the police, and the 4 people mentioned in the anonymous letter had criminal records. 9 long and agonizing months passed without any concrete clues. Interpol joined the search, expanding efforts abroad. After 12 months of investigation, all individuals who could have relevant information were called to testify, but no significant new developments emerged. The media, meanwhile, continued to publish all sorts of speculation. The judge responsible for the case decided to summon Nadia's friends again to testify. In parallel, the young woman's mother raised a disturbing hypothesis about the bloodstain found in her daughter's room. Why not think that the bloodstain that appeared in her room, on a sheet, could have also been the stain from an abortion? The investigation took a dramatic turn on April 21, 2012, almost a year and a half after the disappearance. In Canelones, near the town of Santa Lucia, human remains were found that could belong to Nadia Cachés. The discovery occurred in a rural area, on Highway 11, at kilometer 90, very close to where Nadia's backpack had been found 16 months earlier. 2 days later, on April 23, a primary DNA analysis confirmed what many feared: the remains found were those of Nadia Cachés. However, the advanced state of decomposition of the body and the burns on the vegetation in the area where it was found made it impossible to identify clear elements that could lead to suspects in the case. Adding to the situation, the area cordoned off by the investigation team was not completely secured, and there were reports that some people had even stolen some of the bones. The investigation of the case remained under the responsibility of Judge Maria Noel Odriozola, of the First Shift Criminal Court of Canelones, with the accompaniment of prosecutor Alicius Chiapak from the beginning. Faced with the persistent lack of clear leads and possibly influenced by old rumors, suspicions were directed in various directions. Nadia's father expressed his discomfort with these suspicions and pointed to his daughter's inner circle, some friends, and even journalists. He mentioned that Nadia's own mother had made public accusations against him. Nadia Cachés vehemently defended himself, expressing his fear of being targeted with violence. He also lamented the public judgment he suffered, as in other notorious cases, simply for not publicly displaying his grief through tears on television. The police, for their part, tried to explain why the initial searches in the area where the remains were found had not been successful, detailing the conditions of the vegetation. Finally, on May 6th, Nadia's remains were buried, but the cause of her death remained a mystery. Faced with the immense sadness of friends and family, the discovery of the remains did not bring with it the crucial answers to clarify the reasons for her tragic death. In September 2014, the case was taken over by Judge Luis Alberto Sobet. A key detail that emerged during the investigation was that no one had seen Nadia in the city of Canelones on the night of December 13th, contradicting the initial focus of the searches on the route to Santa Lucia and in the city itself, despite witnesses claiming to have seen her in Canelones. In 2022, members of the Buscando a Nadia group appeared before Parliament to insist on alleged omissions and contradictions in the handling of the investigation. Sometime later, in one of the letters left on her grave, an anonymous message read, "Perdón, hermanita," sorry, little sister. The identity of the author was never discovered. Judge Luis Abad, conducting the investigation under the old Code of Criminal Procedure, revealed that two people from the family circle had been investigated from the beginning, but so far no connection between them and the case has been proven. There were also relevant telephone interceptions included in the judicial file, classified as reserved. One of the latest updates on the case indicates that a new line of investigation is being worked on. To this end, Judge Sobet reported that new witnesses and alleged involved parties are being summoned to testify. However, he also admitted that there is practically no strong incriminating evidence against anyone. The case is not at a standstill, but neither does it seem close to a definitive resolution. Currently, the file consists of 5 main volumes, in addition to one volume dedicated to telephone wiretaps. Almost a decade after the start of the investigation, the Nadia Cachés case remains under seal, and the truth about what happened to the young woman continues to be a painful and unsolved mystery. Thank you so much for watching this story. Your presence and support are essential for me to continue creating quality content. So, if you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any new episodes. Your subscription and comments are fundamental for me to keep bringing quality content. Leave your opinion in the comments, always with respect for the victims, and together let's build an even better community. Thank you so much for following my work, and I'll see you in the next episode.